Hello, Internet, and welcome to another Wednesday's Serial. I am here to update you on my week in comics. Alright, so first and foremost, TMNT Universe number 14, we have Karai's Path continuing. This is the penultimate issue of this, and it is, as I learned recently, Sophie Campbell's departure from the Turtles office, which is very sad for me because she has become one of my favorite creators in the scene right now, and for her to be leaving this book kind of kills me. But I'd be curious to see what's next. She does become a creator I will probably follow. I didn't follow her to Gem because that's a taste barrier thing, you know. I was the boy growing up, so that one didn't speak to me. But she's done other work that I find interesting, and I'm just curious to see where she'll go. But as far as send-offs go, I don't think anything has flushed out a corner of the Turtles universe with such vision as this. Though only the backup is written by her. The writer of the main story is Eric Burnham, and this is just I've said it before, I'll say it again. Even if you're just looking for a kind of martial arts mysticism tale, pick up these issues. They stand on their own and they stand strong. Next up would be Detective Comics 964. This is playing with the Anarchy storyline and hitting a point with Clayface as well, which I can't really speak to without giving away the ending. This story is really very much an ending. It was nice to have some gratification, some closure to show that this book is moving somewhere and moving into the next arc with what was set up with Robin in the last issue. I think should make this a fun read, but I feel like some of the details are slipping and the double shipping is really starting to affect DC books. I'm seeing this one, despite still enjoying it. I'd rather see the time taken to make more quality issues than them pushing through like this, because you can just feel it as the backgrounds kind of become less detailed and as the story feels more rushed. So, Birds of Prey 14, I'm finally feeling more comfortable with this run. This does feel like a real establishment of the new status quo. I know it's really established in the past arc, but this is where becomes normalized. We get this, one-shot issue, which is always fun to find, and you have Batgirl dealing with something for Batman as Oracle, and then moving on to her own thing and calling in Catwoman, Poison Ivy, which is your new crowd, and then you have Huntress and Black Canary dealing with some old lore of Gotham in this Indian Priest Blackfire. Talking about the mages of past. I don't know, it's just a fun, quick thing. I felt like they were setting up what could have been a more fun villain to dig into. Instead, they just kind of blew past it. But it all culminates into one little back and forth and really establishes the heart of the team are the main three girls in my mind, Barbara, Helena, and Dinah, having those three be the core and then having these other characters, I feel really helps establish this book in a way that it hadn't quite been yet, and so I'm just really happy to see it finally come together and hit a core of something for these characters that I've been reading for decades now. So, yeah. A blast from the past I haven't seen in a while. I'm not the biggest Green Goblin fan, but in Amazing 32 they did something I love that I don't feel we see nearly enough. They took an issue to build up the villain. This is interesting because it dovetails with something that I've been listening to recently, talking about how the Green Goblin used to be more of just a crazy man, just a crazy villain, and not really tied to the totem or other ideas of Spider-Man as much, and he kind of survived on the idea of you not knowing who was behind the mask. Of course, that came to a head, and then creative things changed with Spider-Man, but then years and years later, after the Goblin had kind of been forgotten, and then, and had been dead, though through Harry lived on. But um, when Norman was brought back, suddenly he became much more of a Lex Luthor type villain, and that kind of changed the status quo. And now Norman's become such a big thing in Marvel, but by the same token, Spider-Man's become a more prominent character in the general text. That it fits, but issues like this kind of change the direction of the villains and give them the time they need to become as interesting as I think they deserve to be. And sometimes, you read so much Spider-Man and whatnot, it's good to take a break and look at the other characters. And I just think, what a fabulous thing to do. And it's funny to me because there's so many Spider books now with, focusing on the Spider characters. Having a book that was set in that corner of the universe, but focusing solely on villains or focusing solely on the side characters, maybe rotating through issue to issue, I think is so much more juice in that idea than just making Peter Parker Spider-Man, So, man, what a fun aside after something disappointing with Dr. Octopus not so long ago. Next up, I wanted to talk about my pick of the week, essentially. This time, Ben Reilly, The Scarlet Spider, #7. Not only do I want to talk about this, I actually already have put out a tweet, essentially thanking the creators for making such a great issue, and I wrote a letter sent in OK to Print, which is funny because I don't think I've seen a letter page, at least for the past couple of issues. And so I just thought I'd read the letter, as I think that sums it up without going over anything. So here we are. Holy snap bucket, if I may say you are all onto something golden here. I initially picked up The Scarlet Spider as something of a guilty pleasure. Peter David and Bagley on a book together in a swingin' spider theme of things, with echoes of the original run of Deadpool. It was like you all read my mind and made the book I secretly never knew I wanted. Well, as things kept building, and the team turned to Sliney and Keith, I must say my opinion only grew. Rare these days to see development on a book grow unquelled by some impending event. Yet here we are now, issue 7, just one installment past the initial trade, though to split there would be quite the cliffhanger and a fitting punishment for trade waiters that hold off on this masterpiece. Yet, here we are tackling the all-too taboo subject of bringing these super characters back from the dead again and again, and weaving it masterfully as a motivation for a redemption tale and raising the stakes. Though I'd have to question if Ben is the title for the most reincarnated when Jean Grey is back nubile as ever. Quick aside, in the book, the motivation in this issue is about Ben speaking to Death herself, who again ties to the Deadpool run. There's more play off of her knowing Thanos, but they do bring up her relationship with Deadpool, which was a core component of the original run of Deadpool and brought in around a similar issue. There's been many other callbacks to the original Deadpool with a kind of Aunt May-ish looking but older, grayer character that the main character has an unhealthy relationship with. This idea of a tale of redemption, them being the anti-hero, being confused with Spider-Man, actually even plays in as well. So that was one of many. Sorry. Back to the letter. This is how I remember comics being. Intriguing, fun, smart, and a little sexy. Atop that, while not a standalone issue, like every in the run has its own place, exists as its own story. I think that's a throwback for the major publishers these days, and I'm loving that too. Now, looking forward to issue 8, I'm giddy. Hornet, my favorite high-flying member of the all but forgotten Slingers, is back in action, and back from the dead at Wolverine's hands. I can't wait to see how the hijinks of my last favorite Spiders spin-offs mix with my new one. At this rate, I'll be expecting NFL Super Pro to pop in as well. In short, keep it coming. Matt Wednesday's Serial Dergish from the Square State of Colorado. And then I say, please print it. It's rare that I read issues anymore that feel like they stand alone. Like, I feel like I could recommend this issue its own. There's a little summary at the front, like we're used to these days. But the issue really does stand its own. There's, you're going to lose some of the context, but by and large, you could read this and enjoy it. And it weaves into what's been going on the issues prior very well. I know, it's a Spider spinoff. I know that's a barrier for some, but by and large, right now, this is my favorite thing Marvel's printing. One of my favorite things on the shelves, no doubt. And I just had such a blast with comics this week. I just wanted to do an episode, and I hope some of you are reading some of the same great books. And let me know what you are reading, and I'll catch y'all soon with another comic review.